Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we'll be making a quick little basic ADR session here in Pro Tools. So I got Pro Tools open already. But if you were just creating a session, you would probably want to, unless otherwise told something different, typically I make my sessions at 24-bit with 48K sample rate. And interleaved, again, this is kind of up to, if you're doing a one-off session, let's say you only do ADR maybe once a year or so, you'd want to reach out to whoever's sending you all these elements and see if they have a spec sheet, if there's any particular way they want these files back. I personally like interleaved, but a lot of the time I get spec sheets that don't want that on. So it's just always good to ask. If it's not your project, if you're not working on it, all the post sound, and you're just doing a one-off session, it's worth asking somebody for a spec sheet. That way you can make sure everything is the way they want it and everybody's happy. So that is the session setup. When you open up a brand new Pro Tools session, it'll ask you these questions, and that's where you can set all those settings. Since I already created a session, obviously, I can still pull up the session setup and show it to you, but let's move on. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do, obviously, is import your picture. Ideally, you'd get a dialogue and sound effects separate. There has been times where I've got sessions where it was all just mixed into one and I had to make it work. But ideally you'd get sound effects, dialogue, and music separate if possible. But if it's music and effects are on one track, that's totally fine. The main thing is getting that dialogue separated so you have more control. All right, so we import our picture. I got a cool little video from the Library of Congress here, like a World War II video.
So they point like beckoning fingers to the formation, signposts in the sky for the enemy to spot us.
Cool. So once you got your picture in, you'd import all your other elements, dialogue, sound effects, music. And in this case, since this is kind of an older video, it's all kind of just was stereo track. So we're just going to pretend here for a second that we got separate guides. So we'll have a guide, sound effects, and music. So nowadays I'm mostly working in the box. So what I like to do is when I put my dialogue track, I'll make a duplicate of it. And that just gives me more control because this is the one I'm actually going to be sending out to the stage, to the booth. That way, whatever I do to their track here won't affect anything I'm hearing in the control room. And this one is the one I usually send to myself in the control room. And vice versa, whatever I'm doing to mine in the control room, nobody hears any difference when they're out in the booth. And this is where I'd place my sound effects and my music. Cool. After all that, I'd make a beeps track, and this is where I'd place all my beeps. So this is what a cue sheet looks like if no one's ever seen one before. You see here it's got the cue name, and it's got the cue time code start and the time code out. So this is where I'm going to be placing my beeps. This is going to let me know, hey, at this time code, we have a line here. So let's just place one. So this first one, 0101 4922. So this is where our first cue would be. And on this cue sheet, it's LGP001. We'll put that there. And then we'll grab our beep and put it there. Cool. I mean, obviously this cue sheet's for a completely different project, so there's nothing there now. But let's say the line was over here, maybe?
General purpose.
Yeah, let's say this was the start of the cue. We'd put a beep there. Put our marker, and there, got our beeps.
General purpose demolition bombs.
And for those who don't know, the beeps are just kind of there to help the actor know when their cue starts. So it gives them a little rhythm to get into before they say the line. And it lets them know when their cue's coming. There's other ways of doing this. I'm just keeping it simple now. There's actually programs you can use that have streamers, and beeps and all kinds of other stuff, but we won't get into all that. If you want to see more of that, let me know. I can make a different video of that. Okay, cool. So we got our beeps, and again, so once you would have all this whole track would be filled up as many beeps as, how many lines the actors do in that day. You'd have all the beeps here on this track. And then you'd have all your markers. Cool. After that, what I do, well, real quick, let's skip this and let's go to the record track. So here I would have my record track, which I usually make red. And it is a stereo track. I record stereo because I usually use a boom and a lavalier mic. Boom on the left, lav on the right. And I record to playlists. So I'll record on the track, and then I'll just move it down to a playlist. Looks like I might have did a little test earlier. So let's say, for example, this was the cue. We're going to record one. I'll just arm this. I'll go for a take.
And then there was another day.
Okay, let's say he did the line. I'll move the take down, and then we'll go for a take 2.
And then there was another day.
And move it down and so forth. And you kind of just do this as you go along for all the markers and beeps that you made. You would do that pretty much for every session. I don't export it that way, though. That's a good thing to keep in mind. Typically, when you're delivering ADR sessions back to whoever you got them from, they usually don't want you to keep it in playlists. So after my session, I'll move everything down to tracks and label it accordingly. Clean up the session for them. But again, that could be a different, if you want to know more about that, about exporting and deliverables, I can make another video about that. But let's keep moving here. So, got your record track. And on top of the record track, I usually create a playback boom and a playback lav. Why I got them separate like that? Again, just to have more control. So let's say we just did those 2 takes, and let's say the director liked take 2. He said, let's hear that back. So what I would do is just move it up here, maybe kill the top of it because it's just silence. And now I have control over the boom and the lav. Now there's times where you might get a project that has been edited already. And if you hear a scene that you're working on, shooting ADR for, you might notice like, wow, this all sounds like it's the boom mic. I think the editor just went ahead and just used the boom. So playing back a lav might sound a little weird. And vice versa. If you're listening to a scene, maybe the editor cleaned out the lav and the whole scene is lavalier mics, your boom might stick out like a sore thumb. It might be too clean, too full. So, you can decide which one you want to play back. A lot of the time it's just the boom and it's fine. But you'll have separate control. Let's say I'll put the lav up, put the boom down. Or I'll put the boom up and leave the lav down. Again, it's just more control. Cool. After that, we'll have a selects and alt track underneath it. So let's say the director liked that. You played it back and he's like, that's the one. Let's move on. So what I would do is just move it down to the selects track. If you liked take 1 as an alternate, move it down. Now, notice I'm copying it. A lot of the time I see people moving it, which I don't necessarily like. I'm a big fan of just copying it. That way the original is always there. So if you were to chop this up and edit it and it's all crazy, instead of trying to reverse engineer what you did, you can just come back up here and grab the original, and you're back where you started. Cool. After that, I have a monitor boom and a monitor lav. Again, this is just to have some more control. So my record track, oh, sorry, excuse me. Drink some coffee. So my record track will be feeding these, and this is how I'm monitoring them. So I know there's guys who like to monitor the boom and the lav at the same time. They might pan one hard left and hard right. I'm not a huge fan of that. I find it to get phasing and I feel like that could be distracting, especially if you don't know much about audio, you may just think something's wrong that you're hearing. So I typically will listen to one. So this gives me control to just put the boom up, and that way we're all listening to the boom. Everyone in the control room and out on the stage. Periodically, I will check in on the lav, because if one of those mics is going to give you a hard time, most likely it's going to be the lav mic. So I highly advise that you check in on it often, just to make sure it's still sounding good. And what I would do is also send a pre-fader. Again, I'll make a different video about the routing if you guys want, but I'll usually send the boom pre-fade to everybody. That way, if I turn down the boom, nobody hears a difference, and they don't know that I turned up the lav, because if I'm checking in on it, I'll turn the boom down, turn the lav up, but nobody else notices anything. That way I'm not disrupting the session. Everything seems like it's still going smoothly. Okay, so yeah, more control there. Down here, if I have a mic, again, this is all kind of going to depend on your setup, but I think you get the concepts of what I'm explaining here. I think that'll help. This might depend on your setup, but I typically have like a director mic that I put out on the stage that I just keep live. So if the director needs to talk to me or let me know something, I'm hearing them live the whole time. So that's why I have this track. This is just feeding me the control room. If I need to feed this to Zoom or Source Connect or something, I can. Again, it's just more control. I have him. I can route him however I want. And depending on your setup, you might want to set up a talkback mic in your control room. That way you can talk to everybody out in the live, on the stage through loudspeakers or headphones. That gives you more flexibility to route where you want to go. I'm not going to get into routing now. If you want to watch a video and go into depth on how I'm routing all this stuff, I can make a different video. Just leave a comment and I'll get you sorted. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll do a quick overview. Got my picture, imported the picture. Underneath that is where I laid the guide tracks. Ideally, you want the dialogue separated from music and effects. Sort them all here. Dialogue's coming to me. My duplicate's going out to the headphones. Music and sound effects is coming to me and the headphones. I'm not making a duplicate of those. Underneath all that, I'll have my beep tracks. This is where I'll put all the beeps where I make my markers using the cue sheet that we talked about earlier. Underneath that, I have my playback tracks, one for the boom, one for the lav. And underneath that, I have my actual record track, which is in stereo, boom left, lav right. Underneath all that, I have my select and alt track. And below that, I have my boom monitoring track and my lav monitoring track is how I'm listening to the actor live, and I'm choosing which mic I want to hear. Underneath that, we have the director mic that's feeding me in the control room, which I can also route to anywhere else, Zoom, Source Connect, clean feed. And I have a talkback mic for me where I can also route to loudspeakers, headphones, Zoom, Source Connect, wherever we need to go. All right, guys, I hope you learned something. Again, I think if you just take everyone's setup's a little different, but I think if you take the concepts out of this, take the concept away from this, I think that'll be helpful for some people depending on where you're at with your ADR chops. Cool. Thanks, guys. If you want to see more or have any questions, please leave a comment below. Bye.